Every Bengali born within last 150 years in Greater Bengal and attending college must have heard about Oxford and Cambridge. Dwarikanath Tagore, grandfather of Rabindranath, laid the foundation of the wealth and influence of Tagore family. The great Dwarik was one of the prodigal sons of fortune and a beneficiary of the Battle of Palasi of 1757. This battle between Bengal's Muslim Nawab and English garrison in Fort William, Calcutta, was an event of profound significance for the future. None of the parties involved had the faintest idea of the future implications of the battle. The military leader from the English side was Robert Clive, an Englishman who was basically a fortune hunter and a man of destiny. He was far off from the Oxcam network, and his entry into Bengal from England was motivated by basic human ambition: to have a better station in life. This way, 18-year-old Clive was no different than an Indian young man today, venturing in western lands to have a better station in life. Young, almost boyish, Clive was a powerful historical tool and was incapable to be aware of it. The immediate effect of this battle was an interim period marked by phenomenal loot and lawlessness. The old order was collapsing and the new was yet to consolidate. Bengal, one of the richest lands of the Orient, became a target for fortune hunters of all denominations. Behind the great fortunes there are crimes, hidden or open, and one such great man or great criminal was Dwarikanath Tagore. He was a man who started his life from quite a low station, just like his English counterpart, but eventually became a man of immense fortune, power, wealth, and connections. Great Dwarik, the Bengali version of the robber baron, epitomized an age itself. The wealth of Tagore family, both in terms of land and international connections, trace back to this fascinating character. These international connections continued in Tagore family, and by 1890s, the British Empire was matured and was approaching its zenith. Englishmen who had been coming from England for the last 50 years were very different in character, vision, and temperament as compared to Mr. Clive. They were mostly from the Oxcam network. The best among them brought love of Shakespeare, Milton, Shelley, Keats, and other great wordsmiths of English language. The genius of Tagore was in formation phase, and his love for best of English poets became a lifelong passion. It was this childhood love that kept him off from the follies of identifying petty English officials with the spirit of English civilization. This fundamental viewpoint was the cause of his later torments in life, including the rift with Mr. Gandhi. In his Bengali essay, he could say, "Ingrej European Nobin Chittadut rupe Bharatborshe Prabesh Koreche." England has entered as a new ambassador from Europe's heart. This entry in physical terms needed advanced navigational knowledge, maritime expertise, and research into physical nature. More practically, to know as how things work and how does this great material nature work. Oxcam network was the birthplace of such research and query, including that of the Trinity in Cambridge, the College of Great Newton. In a summer morning, while sitting in the Oxford Tube bus, I was thinking about Tagore's various journeys continuing throughout his life. His first visits in England took place at a time when he was a problem child. The wealth of Tagore family was declining, and arrangements were made to make sure that this dreamy-eyed, delicate boy may have a better station in life. He was an unknown boy then, travelling in hackney carriages in the city of London and feeling somewhat suffocated. However, there were moments of respite in the company of affectionate men and particularly women. London of that time was described by some Dr. Watson of Baker Street fame as a great cesspool where all the loafers of the empire finally joined. While moving in the great foreign city, was he anxious to go back to Bengal? Was the Padda of Shilaidaho calling him in his dreams? In the dry, damp, clouded, and coal-smoking sky of London, was he pining for Bengal's landscape? A landscape forever washed in the green of earth and blue of sky. How was his heart? A heart which was getting ready to carry the genius of one of the greatest workers with heart's reason since antiquity. Was he living every day in the Albion's distant shore with the torment what Pascal has tried to tell? The heart has a reason which reason can never comprehend. Was he aware of his life's mission? Was he feeling the same as that of a young man today who is interested to be an artist but condemned by the guardians into 4 years of engineering and other diversions so that the young boy might get settled into a better station of life. Fortunately, being a poet first and always, he left for posterity what he felt in his very cryptic and least understood autobiographical sketches, gibbons with your life's memories. He must have read Dickens, and the English landscape was passing by. I was thinking whether he felt like young Pip, the central character in Dickens' novel, The Great Expectations. Pip was a young village lad brought up by his foster parents. He would have passed his life there in the village, but a message of great expectations arrived from London, and so he went there. Estella, his unrequited and formidable lady love, surfaced in person and in thought as Pip explored the great city. His explorations came to the climax when he found out that this unknown beneficiary was a criminal. In a very moving end of the novel, Pip comes back to his village and discovers Estella in a new light. This rediscovery was a self-discovery for Pip as well. I was visualizing Tagore as a young Pip, having infinitely greater expectations, and also his elusive lady loves. Both sentient and non-sentient were calling him from distant geographies.
ও আমার দেশের মাটি তোমার পরে ঠেকাই মাথা
ও আমার দেশের মাটি তোমার পরে ঠেকাই মাথা
তোমাকে বিশ্বময়ী তোমাকে বিশ্বময়ী আঁচল পাতা ও আমার দেশের মাটি তোমার পরে ঠেকাই মাথা তুমি মিশে ঝুমুর দেহের সনে তুমি মিলে ঝুমুর প্রাণে মনে মিশে ঝুমুর দেহের সনে তুমি মিলে ঝুমুর প্রাণে মনে তোমার ওই শ্যামল বরণ কোমল মূর্তি মর্মে গাথা ও আমার দেশের মাটি তোমার পরে ঠেকাই মাথা ওগো মা তোমার কোলে জনম আমার মরণ তোমার বুকে
তোমার কোলে জনম আমার মরণ তোমার বুকে
তোমার পরে খেলায় আমার দুঃখে সুখে তুমি অন্য মুখে তুলে দিলে তুমি শীতল জলে জুড়াইলে অন্য মুখে তুলে দিলে তুমি শীতল জলে জুড়াইলে তুমি যে সকল সাহা সকল বহা মাতার মাতা ও আমার দেশের মাটি তোমার পরে ঠেকাই মাথা অনেক তোমার খেয়েছি গো অনেক নিয়েছি মা গেল বৃথা কাঁধে আমি কাটালু দিন ঘরের মাঝে তুমি বৃথায় আমায় শক্তি দিয়ে শক্তি দাতা ও আমার দেশের মাটি তোমার পরে ঠেকাই মাথা ও আমার দেশের মাটি তোমার পরে ঠেকাই মাথা।
In 1913, he went to Oxford, and that time it was all different. He was not an anonymous boy like Pip in London anymore, but the Great Expectations had actually arrived. He was received warmly with the flower of English arts and letters. What was he thinking as the fortune changed? As he was moving through the alleys and bylands or in the fields of Oxford, was he equally pulled by Bolpur ashram? How was his sponge-like mind absorbing the environment? As his natural reclusiveness was invaded by various men, women and situation, was he remembering Wordsworth's poetic declaration? The moving accident is not my trade. To freeze your blood I know no ready art. It's my delight, alone in summer shade, to pipe a single song for a thinking heart. He echoed the same sentiment in his own work in Bengali. Shudhu bashikhani dao hate tuli bajai apun pranamon khuli pushper moto sangit guli futai akashe dale. What did he like there, and what did he dislike? Was he charmed by the cold, freezing but efficient British way of management, or critical of it? What was passing in his mind? He has completed Golpagucho, his collection of short stories in Bengali, which are told to be so authentic and potent that if geographical Bengal somehow went down into the Bay of Bengal, still her essentials could be created from this seminal work. He was a well-known man in his native land and abroad. Was he remembering Shelley in Oxford, one of her rebellious sons? Did he remember his fascination and infinitely exquisite confession of liking English beauties as he did in his youth? Did he ever feel like settling in England? Did the thought of managing Shantiniketan in future cross his mind? What kind of civilizational collaboration was he thinking about the scholars here and the scholars in his ashram? Did he have any forethought in the looming war in Europe, which would not only consume the flower of European men, but would also open up a radical break in the domain of arts and letters? Most important, was he aware that this exuberance, this praise about his works may vanish like a dream? The most comprehensive answer to this question came from a self-exiled Bengali who lived a considerable time in Oxford. His name is Nirosri Chaudhary. In one of his books entitled Attogati Bengali, or Suicidal Bengali, Nirod took up the question while he was a private scholar of Oxford, and his thesis in summary is this. In 1910, the empire matured, and there was an overall stagnancy in British high society. An underclass was growing, and in the war Britain lost her men, and with this loss the whole taste of society changed. This change brought rejection and sometimes unmasked contempt for Tagore's works. Budure Bushu, another commentator, takes up the question from another angle and talks of the issue of translation of Tagore's work, especially that of his poetry. On a typical English summer day, I started from Hammersmith, not far away from one of the lodgings of Mr. Pip in London. Took up a suburban train from King's Cross to Cambridge. As far as we know, Tagore had never been to Cambridge. However, he was profoundly curious about the tradition of science that emanated from the university with one of her greatest sons, the great Newton. In Kalantur, his collection of essays in Bengali, he noted the fundamental difference in worldview of Europe and Bengals in the 15th century. The difference came from Europe's inquiry into the material nature through the path of science, or what we call today as modern science. He mentions Mongol Kabbu, a series of works in the 16th century Bengal, a kind of rhyme describing the activities of demigods and demigoddesses. In one such story, we find a hunter had a dream, and the goddess, out of sheer caprice, helped him, and he defeated the whole of king's army. There was no law, no order, but sheer caprice. Ancient Hindu and ancient Greece both rejected this capriciousness of gods, whether Olympian or of Amaravati. The contemporary literature of Bengal had the telltale signs that the society at large in the 15th century was busy with miracle, occult, and reason was subservient to authority of all sorts. Society lacked critical mind, and all kinds of superstitious beliefs took hold of real religion. It was a Cambridge mathematician who told that Greek drama foretold Greek sciences because Greek drama, even allowing some caprices of Olympian gods, never made it the ultimate. The Greek mind searched for an overwhelming order in the chaos of the cosmos. So did the ancient Hindu in the Upanishads, with a far greater directness and poetic sensibility. Tagore was a lifelong witness to these follies growing from habit of mind. He found in science a great method to change this habit of uncritical surrender. Surrender we must, but to what? Is it to the capriciousness of mere mortals or demigods, or to the supreme order? Tagore's exposure to Upanishads as well as to Vaishnava poetry of Goswamis, and with the most refined fuel of a true genius illuminating his heart at the best of times, his position became unique and pregnant with multidimensional meaning. His meeting with the successor of Newton, Dr. Einstein, made it clear that he would have agreed with Dr. Einstein's famous utterance that God doesn't play dice with the universe. Tagore was also facing savage criticism from the younger generation of Bengali poets and writers, just as Dr. Einstein was getting sidelined by the advocates of the dice-playing world of quantum mechanics. As I was wandering in the great courtyard of Trinity leading to the hall where Newton and Tennyson stand and recline in cold marble, I was having an inner monologue. How would he have felt while looking at the golden yellow grass here, a shade that can only come after 6 centuries or more of regular watering? A poet whose gaze could penetrate the inconsequential Kuruchi flowers from his journey from Calcutta to Bolpur by railway track would have been moved by the cool ancient grass. In the domain of ideas, how he would have reacted to the proposition that consciousness is a complex network of computational algorithms, or our sense of beauty and passion for truth are nothing but gradual and accidental unfolding of informational codes coded by chemicals in our genes. How would he reconcile the fact that the pursuit of science, even in Cambridge now, is more of a career and getting media blitz rather than collecting pebbles in the shore of knowledge? How would he react while he finds that the tradition of Newton, after some 500 years, has created a particle zoo, and science has become a way of earning money and prestige by uttering many mumbo-jumbos for a whole bunch of godless men and women, except few lone exceptions? I was nearing a chapel, one of the oldest in the island, and I was again thinking of Tagore as a Bengali Pip. A fragile and sensitive boy started his journey from Calcutta, and in some 70 years remained a traveller in history and in the history of art. In his youth, he went to England as a young Pip in search of destiny. He was excited, he was eager, and he was happy to embrace as his own what he saw as his heirloom as a civilized being. He could not fail to feel the malignancy just as Pip found his great expectations to be founded over a great deal of evil. But Dickens gave consolation to posterity by putting a human cloak over it, and evil was never pure and immutable. Our Pip, in his mature years, never lost hope on a human journey, even though the journey has witnessed all the demons that we all tenderly carry within. There has been an active malignancy forever, and the tension within him and his poetic genius of an eternal faith, a reason of the heart. And the same heart gave him an eternal strength. He felt that he has tried his best in portraying this fundamental dilemma without violating the stringent laws of art. I was bidding farewell to the great Trinity courtyard and remembered the refrain of an persecuted Englishman dead since many centuries, Francis Bacon. A strange Englishman, and 6 centuries ago he had hoped that foreign nations and foreign man would accept him. Our Pip from Bengal has always nurtured the heart's reason that there will be always remain self-renewal and rediscovery of civilization.
আমি চিনি গো চিনি তোমারে ও গো বিদেশিনী তুমি থাকো সিন্ধু পারে ও গো বিদেশিনী আমি চিনি গো চিনি তোমারে ও গো বিদেশিনী তুমি থাকো সিন্ধু পারে ও গো বিদেশিনী তোমায় দেখেছি শারদ প্রাতে তোমায় দেখেছি মাধবী রাতে তোমায় দেখেছি হৃদি মাঝারে ও গো বিদেশিনী আমি চিনি গো চিনি তোমারে ও গো বিদেশিনী আমি আকাশে পাতিয়া কান শুনেছি শুনেছি তোমারি গান আমি তোমারে সঁপেছি প্রাণ গো বিদেশিনী আমি আকাশে পাতিয়া কান শুনেছি শুনেছি তোমারি গান আমি তোমারে সঁপেছি প্রাণ গো বিদেশিনী ভুবন ভ্রমিয়া শেষে আমি এসেছি নূতন দেশে আমি অতিথি তোমারি দ্বারে ও গো বিদেশিনী আমি চিনি গো চিনি তোমারে ও গো বিদেশিনী তুমি থাকো সিন্ধু পারে ও গো বিদেশিনী আমি চিনি গো চিনি তোমারে ও গো বিদেশিনী